Okay. All right. Wait, it's recording pending. All right.
There we
Okay.
go.
Hi, I'm Martin. I'm here with Polis Media, and I'm speaking to Emily about her campaign to become the next director of Wellbeing. So, Emily, it's nice to meet you. Can you tell us who you are and why you're running to be the next DoWell?
Of course. So, hi everyone, I'm Emily Barclay. I'm 4.5 years into an English degree, and I'm running to be DoWell because I have intimate experience of what needs to be done to help improve the support services available in St Andrews. And I'm really passionate about it. I want everybody to get the best experience that they can in St Andrews. And that means that support should just be so accessible and so easy to access and available for everyone. And currently there's some tweaking that needs to be done so that we can get there.
Awesome. So jumping right in, based off of what you've just said, what are your main plans for tweaking? What are you hoping to change, and how will you get it done?
I am hoping to overhaul the advertisement for all the student services. So what we currently have for our advertising for student services is good. We've seen some definite improvements this year. We now have an Instagram page, which of course, so many of our students are on Instagram doing different things like Polis Media, of course, and also some of us just procrastinate our work on Instagram. So having accessible and easy to spot information like that is a great help. But we also need this information to be available to us from the start of our degrees. And my plans for this is to implement a compulsory matriculation module, which we have seen done this past year. We've had an environmental and a consent module added to the matriculation process. And I just know that if everybody has the equal opportunity to sit down and see the services offered by students, services by the union, different services available for our academic schools, that means that everybody will have an equal gist and understanding of the support available. So when people come to actually needing support, they know where to turn to. Because when you get to the point that you need support, reaching out is already hard enough without finding out who to contact, what services will be available. It needs to be streamlined and it needs to be easy for students when they need support to get that support.
Yeah, that's great. That's a great overview of your plans. More specifically, you also have some plans to reform and adapt student services as a body. Could you maybe go into some of that as well, and what you aim to do with student services, or how you aim to change its operations?
I'd be delighted to. So student services, bless them, are a wonderful body of resources for us students. However, their current system, we know from hearing from feedback from students, it's just not quite working. This in part plays to students not understanding where to find out more information about student services, but we have this recurring theme of students reaching out to student services and not quite getting the support that they need. From personal experience, I have only now, 4.5 years later, I have a support plan that works for me, and I have been in contact with student services since my second year. So I'm just one example of many. And I believe this is in part due to the student services lightest touch approach, which has a wonderful background to it. Student services aims to provide a place where the resilience of students can increase, and they aim to do this by students getting in contact with them and asking for help, and asking for the specific kinds of help that they would need and want. However, as we've covered, students don't know the help available to them. So this does not work very well when students have to ask student services, can I get this bit of support? So we need to adapt this resilience and lightest touch approach, still maintain its main idea and plan, because we do want our student body to become resilient. But if a student is unwell, they're already doing well enough by reaching out for help. They shouldn't have to know exactly what they want. They've already reached out, and student services should be a hand that is willing to reach back out and help them and bring them into the fold and go, here are your options. this is what we can do, and students then need to be able to turn around and go, this would help me.
That's a really excellent explanation of what you view the problem and how you'd fix it. Thank you.
Thank you for listening.
So now, yeah, my pleasure. So now turning to one of your plans specifically for international students in St. Andrews, you aim to add a role on association councils, if that's correct, to represent international students. What was the rationale for that? Why do you think that international students need a specific representation on councils, and how would that help?
So as you might be able to hear from my voice, I'm from Glasgow. I'm quite local. However, obviously, such a heavy population of St. Andrews students are from all over the globe. So it's not fair for there not to be representation for the specific concerns of international students, because I'm from Scotland. I know how to phone a GP. I know the banking systems. I know I already have my phone set up. These aren't concerns that I would naturally think about. However, over my time in St. Andrews, I've had friends from so many different countries and so many different backgrounds who have not had this experience. They aren't sure how to phone a GP, or especially American friends have sometimes been reluctant to phone a GP for price reasons. And an international representation would know and would be able to give a better voice to the student councils of, this is a concern for our students. They don't know how to access this specific bit of resource, or they're feeling there's not a great enough sense of community when tackling certain issues. So I believe having a dedicated international representation on student councils would be a great step towards equaling the playing field, making sure everybody gets the support they need. As much as I feel I keep saying it, it is about support.
Sure. And is this part of a broader plan to change the way that student councils work, or is this just sort of adding a position?
Sort of just adding a position. I believe there's some changes which could be implemented on to student councils. However, student councils as a body already do a phenomenal job and are constantly evolving, and that can't be diminished. They do an incredible job representing us.
Sure, that makes a lot of sense. Thank you. Turning back to your proposal for a required matriculation course, if I'm not mistaken, and correct me if I'm wrong, you propose adding 2 pre-matriculation courses in your manifesto. Is that correct?
I do, yes.
So do you think that that might be too much and it might dilute the effect of the courses, or do you think that where you would be able to maintain the importance, the attention span of students throughout all of the matriculation courses and make sure that they're all effective?
I believe you can make sure that they're short enough and still catching enough, that we've all been through the matriculation process. We know that sometimes it feels like a bit of a long slog. However, you can return back to it. So it is breakable down in that way. But there is just so much information that students need to have. So this second matriculation module that I have proposed is actually about sexual health. Of course, the union provides so much information about sexual health, which is wonderful. That's what we love to see it. However, having this accessible straight at the front, a lot of students that come to university for the first time, first year, we can't guarantee what sexual education they've had from their previous educations. So having a dedicated resource straight from the go ensures everybody has an equal knowledge or an equal basis of knowledge that will ensure healthy sexual practices within our student body, which is all important because we all want to be safe and we all want it consensual and we all want to be well and enjoy ourselves. So things like having information on where to find condoms, because obviously student services and so many of the buildings offer free condoms, but a lot of students struggle with how to ask for these free condoms. Information like how to contact the Help Hub and book an appointment at the sexual health clinic, which can be quite difficult to do because of the waiting times and it can feel quite unclear. If we had this information available at the start, it just ensures that students are aware of this information. And if they need it, it's an easy place that they think, oh, I did something with this in matriculation, and they know where to find more information.
Sure, that makes a lot of sense. So now turning to a more fun question. Assuming that we are back in pre-COVID world, or in hopefully a post-COVID world, what would be your ideal day or night out in St. Andrews?
Oh, I would eat so much food. I love all the restaurants in St. Andrews, but I am so craving a steak pie from Forgan's. The name completely eluded me there. But steak pie from Forgan's and a Kaylee. Oh, perfect. And then ice cream at Janetta's. That'd be salted caramel ice cream. I really have a focus on food.
That sounds like a really great day. Yeah, I look forward to being able to do that again. So going back to your campaign, how would you use your experience as a candidate in these elections and in your time in St. Andrews to make the associational elections more accessible, more participation, increase voter turnout, and just generally make the union and student councils more representative?
I'm delighted to have this question, because I think a big part that needs to change is we need the demystification of student elections. I know so many people that are sort of reluctant to get involved because they feel they've not previously had experience with the student councils. They don't know how it works. It seems like a lot of effort, and it is, but it's worthwhile. Whatever you put into, we can really get back, and there's such an opportunity to help our fellow students. Personally, I'm so passionate about it because I feel I've had 4 years of mishaps and missteps and misfortunes, that I have the experience when it comes to well-being. I know what it's like to be unwell. I know what it's like to be in the recovery process. I have that information, but also a big part of the DoWell role is elections. It's about student representation, excuse me. And if we have our students and they're thinking student elections are too much work to get involved in, or they're not sure what to do throughout the process, we've automatically blocked them from getting involved. And I think that's quite sad because everybody has ideas. Everybody has something that's happened to them that they thought, this could be improved on. I wish it was different. And everybody should have the opportunity to give their voice. So I think a big part that we need to do in demystifying the elections process is information needs to be available from the start of semester 2. Obviously, there's awareness. If you're above first year, you know that elections will come up in March. They happen every year. However, we need more information about, okay, I'm thinking about running for this role, or this role sounds interesting. We need information on that role and what is involved in that role. We need information on little, well, I say little, they're quite big things. How to even write a manifesto. I know that a lot of people, myself included, when I was writing my manifesto, I was like, where do I even start? Public speaking, that's also a big element. And these are things that could easily have information available on the union website to students. And it wouldn't count as pre-campaigning, which is a big concern for the student elections, obviously. But there's an element where people need to know information so that they can be prepared for elections, so that they can run a good candidacy and be proud no matter what the results are. They need to have that information available to them so that they don't get to this week, elections week, and the campaign week and just freak out thinking, I have so much to do. If we have this information earlier, people can be prepared, know what they're going to do, and then run a good campaign, voice their opinions, voice their policies, and enact change.
Yeah. So how would you ensure that those resources get to as many students as possible? Because sometimes this university tends to have a lot of information concentrated on Facebook, and on certain platforms, but they don't necessarily reach everyone. Is there a way you would approach that issue and make sure that students who may not even engage with elections normally get to a point where they're thinking about running?
Yeah, so I'm a big fan of the sabbatical email. Love it. It has been a change that I've seen growing so much. Again, I'm very old, 4.5 years into my degree. Seen it develop so much. That obviously goes out to the whole student population, and it's a wonderful resource for highlighting where things are. However, as you said, Facebook, Instagram, not all of our student population have Facebook or Instagram or various social medias. So it's very important that we have information in communal spaces that all students can reach, access, and this involves the union website, and I would argue it involves the Career Centre and PSC. As it currently stands, PSC runs, or SEED runs, 2 elections workshops. They run one on manifestos and they run one on public speaking online. This year they were recorded because obviously they were held online. However, these workshops could be available in advance on SEED, on the PSE workshop, so that it's another location that students are at least vaguely familiar with. Sabbatical email can promote this resource, but it's somewhere that nobody's obstructed from accessing. And again, it plays into my policies on, we want students to be informed on how to campaign, and then that way they will be more encouraged to campaign.
Sure, that makes sense. Thank you for talking about your plans for elections. So I have one more sort of policy question and then one more fun question to finish things off. So my policy question is, obviously one of the most prevalent topics in the DoWell manifestos, but also the discourse in St. Andrews and the things that need to change in St. Andrews are about sexual violence. And recently the St. Andrews Survivor page, which has been doing a really impressive job just talking about this topic, has raised a proposition to move to create a non-academic misconduct policy. I don't know if you've had a chance to review that idea, but if you have, do you have an opinion on that? And if so, would you promote it or not? And if you haven't had a chance to look it over, that's okay.
I haven't had a chance to look it over. However, I am very much in favour of it. Unfortunately, there is the reality of things like sexual harassment. We're seeing with COVID, we're obviously seeing a lot of increasing in race harassment, which is unacceptable. We had an instance at the start of this semester where some people were accosted in one of the parks, which is just completely unacceptable. And we currently have the support and report and support tool that I somehow can't speak, which is a great resource. But again, students aren't really aware of it. And just because it exists doesn't mean students are going to turn to it. And it's easy to feel as students that there wouldn't be a genuine outcome for it. So what we need is a non-academic misconduct in the university, because we have to put a firm foot forward saying that this is unacceptable. This is not something that's welcome in St. Andrews. This is not something that's welcome anywhere, but it just will not be tolerated. And for that, we need the weight of the university behind us to fully step down and go, it will not be tolerated in this university. So I'm very much in favour for it.
Okay, well, thank you for speaking on that. And so my last question before we end this interview is, if the sabbatical officers could have a pet, what would you like to get and what would you name it?
I love this question. So I am a massive dog person. I love dogs. And my dream dog would be a Bernedoodle. It has the added benefit of being non-allergenic, which I love dogs. I have always had dogs, but I'm very allergic to dogs. So that's my dream dog. However, I'm also very big on adopting dogs and rescuing dogs. So As much as I love the Bernedoodle breed, it's less important than giving a good life to a dog which needs one. So I would love to see the SAB office get a dog from a rescue shelter, and I would really want it to be called Stockholm. This is a bit of a dark joke, but Stockholm Syndrome, because it's a rescue dog. And also, my family has a theme of names with location names. So we've had dogs called Paris and China, currently Dakota, and Stockholm's another place. But yeah, that is a bit of a dark joke.
Yeah, well, I would love to have a SAB dog. I feel like that would be very fun.
Pet therapy
so
for everyone.
Maybe, exactly, maybe one day. But Emily, thank you so much for taking the time. It was a pleasure to speak to you and hear about your ideas. Best of luck with the campaign for the rest of the week. And yeah, it was a pleasure to meet you.
Pleasure to meet you too. And thank you so much for talking to me and giving me this opportunity to speak on my campaign and my policies. And hopefully everyone remembers to vote.
Yes, we will hopefully be getting some good voter turnout this year. Hopefully, crossing my fingers. Well, thank you again. Have a great rest of your day and great rest of the campaign.
You too.
Thank you.